That'll be better, no? Okay, perfect. The title of the seminar that you read there, Reaching the World Next Door, I was just sharing with a few of you at the beginning. That title, the first time I heard it, was by Pastor Scott Griswold. Scott Griswold was a missionary to Southeast Asia. He worked for some time in Cambodia, and then I met him in Thailand when my family and I'm originally from Ecuador. My wife is from Washington State. We met at Andrews. And then we lived in Ecuador for 6 years, Texas another 6 years. Then we moved to Thailand to do church planting. We lived there for 5 years. And then coordinated some mission work for 5 years in West and North Africa. And then I came to the mission field of the Carolinas. Yeah, so we have been here for the last 3 years. Something that is of interest to me, when I met Scott Griswold in Thailand, he was coordinating the work for how to reach Buddhists and all other Eastern religions. Yeah, so when he came back to the States, his desire was to continue doing that. And one of the things that I was sharing with Pastor Don earlier is this. America, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the greatest mission fields that we have. Yeah? The only issue is that we don't see it like that. Is that right? So when we think the mission field, we usually think of other places. Is that right? And there are many needs abroad. I will not deny that. I have seen it. Over 2 billion people that have not been reached. But we have an amazing opportunity and privilege because a lot of the people from countries that are very difficult to reach are coming to the States. Yeah? And then we have them as our neighbors. So that's why Scott Griswold came up with that phrase, reaching the world next door. Yeah? So in many of the universities close to the cities where you live, there are many foreign students. And it will be very easy to make connections with them, invite them to eat. They are looking for people. And that will be an amazing opportunity to create bridges, with them. But this afternoon, I want to concentrate. And I was sharing with Pastor Don also, I have 5 different presentations, but they are all standalones, okay? So you can come to any of them, and then you will be fine. So there will be no problem. But they are connected in the sense of understanding how to minister to the cities, okay? Any of you who is interested in the material, I'll be very happy to send you a PDF so you can have it, all right? So if you're interested, I'll do that. I want you to start with a couple of texts from the Bible. You have here in the screen, it says the following. From Issachar, men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. 200 chiefs with all their relatives under their command. Do any of you remember the context of this text? Yeah, I'll remind you, okay? In 1 Chronicles 12, you have, welcome, nice to see you. We have some missionaries also here that I had the opportunity and privilege to meet in Thailand. The context is the kingdom is going to be consolidated. And each tribe is contributing with something different. So one is sharing 12,000 soldiers. The other is sharing a lot. But when it comes to the tribe of Issachar, what did they contribute? Exactly. Isn't interesting, They understood the times and what else? And they knew what they should do. That was very interesting, okay? Very insightful. So that was the contribution of this tribe. And then if you do some research on the tribe of Issachar, very interesting to me, they are considered, even today it seems, that they were the ones who dedicated, outside of the tribe of Levi, a lot of time to the study of the Torah, of the scripture. So that was of interest. So as Adventists, I believe that we need to be people who understand the times and who know what to do. Is that right? So we need to understand how to do effectively what we do. That's one. The other text that is very familiar with you, while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed, see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. Where is the world in which Paul spent a lot of his time? Marketplace, what else? Yeah, the synagogues, what else? There's touring, and he hit the major cities. Yeah. As Adventists, you will see later on in another presentation that as Adventists, because of different reasons, we have taken a lot of the advice and counsel from Ellen G. White to leave the cities. Is that right? Yeah. But we have forgotten that she also has a lot to say as to how to minister to the cities. Yeah? So she's amazingly balanced in what she does. You can say, hey, you can live outside of the cities in order to effectively minister to the cities. Yeah? So Paul gives us a good example of that. Yeah? He is in the city. He is ministering in the synagogues. He's ministering in the marketplace. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to debate with him. Some of them asked, what is this Bible trying to say? What was the issue with them? Were they understanding what he was discussing? No, is that right? For them, it seems that it was strange. So what do? Yeah, others remark, he seems to be advocating foreign gods. They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. So what was the message that he was preaching? Jesus and the resurrection. What was being understood by them? Exactly. We don't know what he's talking about. Is that right? So what happens? Then they took him and brought him to a meeting in the Areopagus, where they said to him, may we know this new teaching that you are presenting? You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, people of Athens, I see that in every way you are very, what? Religious. Yeah? So he started from something that was common. Is that right? Oh, wow, you are religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I'm going to proclaim to you. So what is he communicating to them? You're already worshiping something, but let me tell you, you don't know what that is. And I am going to help you. Okay? So again, back to the Issachar tribe. Paul understood the times, and he understood what to do to communicate, the message. So I want to share with you a presentation that was created by the director of missions, Gary Krause. All right? He is the person who created this series and presented it several years ago in a mission meeting that we had, mission training. And basically, what he is doing is how can we understand ministry to the cities? Yeah? So that's what we are going to be talking about. Is that okay? At any time, if you have questions or if you have different ways of looking at what I'm sharing, please, don't doubt in raising your hands and just sharing. In 1800, what percentage of the world population lived in cities? 3%. Today, what do you think? What do you think? 80%? 50? Okay, interesting, So in 2009, 56% lives in cities. By 2050, they estimate that 70% will live in cities. I was looking and... Okay, perfect. That's a good point. I'll clarify that in the next slide, which is here. In U.S., here in the States, 80% of the population is urban. So I checked what they meant by that, So I went to the statistics, and they revise the way they define. So if you have 5,000 people or more, they consider that a city. Yeah, so if you live in a smaller than 5,000, then you are not considered, okay? So 80% of the population in our country lives in cities, yeah? So just so you have an idea, our administration is interested and concerned. This is one area of interest to me as well as church planting. The city of Charlotte, yeah, just take the city of Charlotte. Over 1 million people in the city, and if you take the whole metro area, over 4 million people, yeah? And in that, we have, in Charlotte itself, only one church, English-speaking church. Yeah, one. And they say we should have one for every 25,000 people, yeah? So we need many more, yeah, churches there. And if you go to different large cities in our conference, it's the same thing. So we need to be interested in ministry to cities. How do we do it? Why? Okay, this is what we are going to analyze. Here you can see, I don't want to be on your way here. Okay. I don't know if you can see here well. What is this? Yeah, satellite image of the world. Yeah, what you see, the lights that you see there are cities. Most of the cities, as you can see, are in coastal areas, yeah? We'll go very quickly here, so our time will go fast. In Java, Indonesia, a lot of lights, yeah? Yeah, thank you, that would be great. I think that'll allow us to see it better. Yeah, you can see 141 millions live in this location. Indonesia has the largest, do you know, Muslim population in the world. Yeah, Indonesia, here. 141 million people here. The Levant area, okay, you will recognize here. Beirut, Tel Aviv, areas of so much need our prayers now. Amman, Baghdad. Do you see the lights there? So all of these places are concentrated cities. Korean Peninsula, fascinating for me. Almost 50% of the population in South Korea live in one city, Seoul. Yeah, and Seoul is the 9th largest or most populated city in the world. All right, so you can see a lot of people. Just imagine what is that. Australia is here, Europe, you can see the large cities, and I want to move to what is of more interest to us. What is this? United States. Where do you see the most lights? In the east. Yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are located. If you look here, you can see that most of the population in the United States seems to like what? The East Coast. Is that right? Yeah? All right. So they have developed a term for cities that are coming together. Megalopolis. Okay? Megalopolis. So one of the largest and most influential megalopolis is in the East Coast. All right? Right here. Let me just mention it. Washington, D.C. What else? Help me out. Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, and what else will come here? Yes, that's right. All right? So all this area is called a megalopolis. Yeah? 3% of the Earth's surface, but they generate more than 80% of the GDP. Yeah? Louis Manford, a sociologist, said the following: the city, as one finds it in history, is the point of maximum concentration for power and culture of a community. So that's why we as Seventh-day Adventists, we should be interested in how to make a difference in the cities. Why? Because that's where power and culture are being developed. And our churches should be influential in shaping the culture of the cities. Yeah? Does that make sense for you? Is it possible? What do you think? All right, let me advance here a little more. Boswash, the megalopolis. More than 50 million people live there. It's the world's largest economic output. All right? Less than 2% of the nation's area. In the education, which universities are located in this megalopolis? You are, I'm sure you are very well acquainted. First one, Harvard. Where else? Yale, Princeton, MIT, Columbia, Penn, Johns Hopkins, Brown. Tell me if these are not influential places. Yeah. So people from around the world are coming to study here, and then when they go back to their countries, they are taking what they have learned here. Isn't that right? So is this area shaping the way of thinking of the world? Of course. But not only in education, in the economy. 20% of U.S. GDP in this megalopolis. All right? Largest economic output of any megalopolis in the world, headquarters for JP Morgan, Chase, Citigroup, Fannie Mae, Goldman Sachs, Freddie Mac, Fidelity, headquarters of 162 of the Fortune 500 global companies. Is this area influential? Yeah, of course. Education, economy. But not only that, media headquarters. Which media headquarters are there? ABC, NBC, CBS, NPR, Fox News, Comcast, New York Times, US Today, Washington Post. Is this place influential? Yes. It's shaping the thought of the world, not only of America, in many areas. Education, economy, media, what we hear, what we are, the way we are processing what's happening in the world, politics, White House, Capitol, the United Nations, New York fashion, 900 fashion companies, more fashion designers than any other city. Yeah? That is happening only where? In that area. Now, I'm going to the West Coast very quickly, okay? LA, yes, that little hexagon, all right? Universal Studios, Warner Brothers, Paramount Pictures, Walt Disney, Columbia Pictures. If we go up, Twitter and Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Google, Apple. Tell me if these places are not influential. Yeah. So you can see, concentrated in these very small geographic areas, you have companies, people that are shaping and that are feeding the thought of not only the U.S., but the world, really. Yeah? So, if Facebook were a country, what does it say there? It would be the world's most populous. Yeah? How many of you have Facebook? You know that. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's the way that people communicate. The power of the cities. So, if I were to summarize, the cities are powerful because they have influence in politics, entertainment, economics, media, education, fashion. Now, the question is, how do we, as churches, make a difference in these cities? What can we do? That's the question. Help me with some ideas. What do you think? Are some ways in which your churches, or churches that you know are impacting your culture in your cities, what are you doing? What are things that can be done? Help me out. Any idea is good. What are some things that you're excited that are happening in your church that is impacting the cities? Yes, Don.
We're in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and we do a God's Closet ministry, and we have big community shop days, like 3 times a year, where we give clothes away.
Excellent.
And so we've had anywhere from 600 to 1,000 people that will come out on a given couple of hours, and we're just so appreciative, and they don't know much about us, but that's like some of them will say, "We'll come and worship with you next Sunday," and I tell them we're not here on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's a great way to go and mingle and get to know people.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Yes, please.
A low-power FM station
Mm-hmm.
that broadcasts some bachelor.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so through the radio. Yeah? Okay, excellent. And any other ways? Please.
We have also a radio station, and one of the big events that we have each year is the Daniel Fast program.
Okay.
Which is a month-long health program.
Perfect.
With recipes and books we give out.
Mm-hmm. So Hendersonville, is that right? Okay. Yeah. All right.
And people are coming to the church because of it.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, very good. Any other ideas? How can our churches, yes, please, and then.
We feed the homeless every Saturday morning.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Church? Mount Pisgah. Wonderful. Yeah, so feeding the, yeah, yes.
From East Ridge, Tennessee. We do a dinner with the doctor program usually once a month for half the year, 3/4 of the year.
Excellent.
We have about
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, please. Excellent. Education. Yeah, wonderful. Yes.
Previous location prior to moving to Carolina, we lived near a large Big Ten university,
Mm-hmm.
and we would go on campus and help foreign students get situated.
Excellent.
Take them to Walmart, invite them to our homes for meals like Thanksgiving and things like that.
Yeah, wonderful. Any other ideas of things? Yeah, please. Excellent. Wonderful. So something that you can notice is if you find a need in the community and if you have the giftedness in your church, you can build bridges. Is that right? And people enjoy what they are doing. And there are great ideas of what is happening here. How many of you have heard this phrase, centers of influence? Yeah? All right. Yeah, so we are well acquainted with that. Early in our history, Seventh-day Adventist, we had that, and I'm going to share a little more of that. But that phrase has been used lately. My family and I, we were in Thailand, there, and Thailand was one of the locations where there were centers of influence. The Middle East is another place where there were many centers of influence. So basically, centers of influence are locations that you open up to the community where you can have conversations with the community that will eventually lead you to share Christ. Yeah, in many places, you know that many countries are open to preaching, so that's no problem. But in many other locations where you cannot do it, then you have to create ways that will build bridges to connect you with that. Yeah, but center of influence. I'm going to move here. Yeah, by mid-century, Karen Soto is a sociologist. She says there will be as many people living in the cities as occupy the entire planet today. Can you believe that? It's even hard to believe that, okay? About a third of the new urban population growth of the next 30 years will be just 3 countries, Nigeria, China, and India. You know that India now is the most populated country in the world. It passed China. Yeah? So that's what is happening. And just imagine the density of that, all right? So Jonah 4:11, at the end of the story, God asks one question to the prophet. He says, should I not be concerned about the great city? Yeah. One of the things that is interesting to me about the prophet Jonah is that many people were saved in spite of him, not because of him. He is fleeing from God. A storm comes, and then the sailors say, hey, who are you? They cast lots, and then finally it comes to Jonah. Who are you? I'm a Jew. I'm fleeing from the mission that I have. What should I do? What should we do? The sailors asked. What was his response? Have you thought about that? Even at that point, he was not willing to go. He rather die than fulfill the mission. Because he did not tell them. He did not say, hey, take me to shore and I want to go and be a faithful prophet. He said, you know what? Throw me overboard. That's it. That's the end. He was unwilling to do it. And as a result of that, what did God do? Do you remember what happened to the sailors? The sailors worship God at the end. In spite of him. At the end, he preaches. Finally, he goes to the city. He goes to Nineveh. He has to walk the city. He preaches the message. Hey, in 40 days, doom, you are gone. And God works in the hearts of the people, including the king. He repents. They fast. The animals fast. Everybody fasts. Yeah? Everything fasts. And then at the end, what does God do? He saves the city. What was Jonah's response? I knew it. I knew it. That's why I didn't want to come. I knew you were going to save them. It was very sunny and hot, so a little plant grows and gives shade to him. Is that right? The next day, a worm comes and eats the plant. How does he feel? Angry. I feel so angry that I want to die. That's what Jonah says. Is that right? And then at the end of the story ends with this verse. Should I not be concerned about the great city of Nineveh and 120,000 people that cannot distinguish between their right hand and their left hand? So a question for you. If we read the story of Jonah, what happens to Jonah at the end? What is the end of Jonah at the story? Exactly. And for me, what I understand there is that the story of Jonah is the story of each one of us in our response to God's mission. It's right there. It's open. Okay? So, how can we make a difference in the cities? Dr. Gary Krause spent many years working on his dissertation, and he took these 4 different pieces. The Bible, experiences from life, urban studies, and then he responded to 2 key questions. What should meaningful Adventist urban mission in North America look like today? What would it look like? And the second, how could a reworked version of the center of influence approach fit into that picture? Yeah? So that's what we are going to see today. The concept of centers of influence developed by the General Conference is basically here. First, Christ's method alone. Yeah, you know that. The second is quality of life. That is, we as churches bring quality of life to the places where we are located. How? Community health, social and spiritual, and sustainability. And the third component is a verse that comes from Jeremiah. We'll deal with that later on in the week. Bringing shalom to the city. Yeah? Flourishing, incarnational, embedded in the community, gospel reconciliation and healing, and finally, listen and learn through compassion. Okay, what does that look like in practice? These are cities today. A lot of our cities, expensive. People have time or no? Yeah, how many people attend your prayer meetings during the middle of the week? Are they still working or no? 12, yeah. In most of churches, really, unless they do it by Zoom, which I have found get more attendance, yeah, every time that you invite people to evangelistic meetings or something like that, people are extremely busy. Distractions and attractions, difficult to access. Can you go door to door in a lot of your neighborhoods or no? No soliciting and stuff like that, no? People are well educated. How does that affect sharing Christ? Or is that an opportunity? How do you see it?
What they're educated in, evolution in the schools.
Exactly. So it depends on their education, is that right? And whether that creates barriers or builds bridges, is that right? Okay, perfect. People are jaded, traditional methods don't work as well. We, as Adventists, like country living. That's the reality. Yeah, historically that's been the case. So let me share a story. How many of you have heard these names? Stephen and Hetty Haskell, 1901. Okay, a few of you. They were missionaries. Do you remember where? Okay, Australia. What else?
They went to a number of places. They went to England.
Okay.
Africa. They were.
All right. So.
They did a lot in education work in the United States.
Okay. So let me surprise you with this next slide. All right. In addition to what you have mentioned, they are known in the church because they were missionaries. Where? New York City. Okay. Brother Haskell, Ellen G. White says, the Lord has given you an opening in New York City. And your mission work there is to be an example of what mission work in other cities should be. Your work in New York has been started in right lines. You are to make in New York a center for missionary effort. The Lord desires this center to be a training school for workers, and nothing is to be allowed to interrupt that work. He answers to Ellen G. White and says, we finally settled. Last week, we came to New York City, and after spending 4 days hunting for a house, we finally settled at this place. In this city, there are some buildings over 30 stories high. We are located near the center of the city. Where were they located? Center of the city, okay? And in the building where we live, there are 53 families. The building is 7 stories high, and 2 elevators run night and day. Address. Do not let our brethren forget to pray for us. Do not forget the address. It is 400 West 57th Street, New York City. Any of you from New York? Okay. Do you have any idea where this is located? Central Park, all right? Right there. 3 blocks from Central Park. How much would it cost to be there today? Unaffordable, exactly. Nevertheless, God helped the missionaries to New York to locate themselves where? In the heart of the city. Question for discussion now, please. Why do you think that was like that? Why? Why do you think, when God placed them there and helped them to find a house, they were located in the heart of the city, in the center of the city? Any ideas? Yes. Okay, people of the city needs to hear the message. Perfect. Anybody else? Yes. What do you think?
Central Park would be an attraction for anybody who's working.
Okay, yeah.
So being right next to it would have access to people.
Access to people from all over. Perfect. What else? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Okay. This is the address today. Okay? Just 3 blocks from where everything in New York is happening. Is that right? Now, in evangelism, Ellen G. White says, the work that is done for God in our large cities must not be according to men's devising. In our work, we are to remember the way in which Christ worked. Yes, Don.
Another thing about New York, you had everyone immigrating through New York City.
Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, very important, no? And for me, what happens in New York and then Chicago and San Francisco that I'm going to be sharing here is the blueprint of what God intends for our cities. What He did in the past and the desire that He has for the present. Ideas for you and your churches, okay? So Chicago, the lifeboat, yeah? This is what was happening in Chicago around churches, what they were doing. First, there was a small hospital. There was a visiting nurses program, free clinics, lifeboat mission, emergency residences, and soup kitchens. You see that, and it's very exciting to hear that your churches are active in your communities. Yeah, many of you have many things that are happening. But something that grabs my attention when I see what used to happen here is exactly what the name Center of Influence means. It's a center where a lot of things are happening that impact the life of the community. Each community is different. So you in your churches need to assess what the needs are. Yeah, so you need to do a need assessment in your community. And then the other thing that you need to do is a gift assessment so that you can match the gifts that your church has with the needs that are in your community. But as you can see, there are many things that happen in this location that was impacting the life of the church. In San Francisco, L.G. White uses the phrase beehive, in San Francisco. What was happening here? Visited the sick, homes for orphans, jobs, nurses helping there, healthful living classes, school, treatment rooms, health food store, vegetarian cafe, and public meetings. All of that was happening around the ministry that was happening in the city of San Francisco. Chicago, San Francisco, New York. Question for you. Help me. Let's discuss this because it's important. Why would this work, or why would this not work in our churches today? What are some of the opportunities, and what are some of the challenges that will allow us opportunities, not allow us to do it, challenges? What do you think? Let's start with the challenges. Yes, please.
Well, I don't know if I'm answering, but I know that in all of the cities, there are a number of homeless people
Yes.
that are needy that can be reached.
Mm-hmm.
Because homeless people are needy people and they're looking for help.
Correct.
So that is an opportunity in every single city
Mm-hmm.
in the United States for homeless people. There are 10 cities, you see them in Charlotte.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you see 10 cities and homeless people, they're one area that we can work.
Okay, perfect. Another idea. Yeah, what would be challenges and opportunities for us to implement some of these ideas in our context? Yes.
So a challenge that we have at our church is the membership volunteer, like
Okay.
having people to help us start these.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Yeah, excellent point. Let's analyze this a little more. What percentage of members in churches are the ones that are running the churches? What do you think?
10%.
10%? Yeah. In most churches, I don't know, Don, in Spartanburg, if it's different, or Hendersonville, or the churches that you have mentioned. One of the challenges that I see as a pastor, when I was pastoring, is this. You have 10 to 20% of the membership doing 100% of the activities. Isn't that right? So if you keep doing that, what happens to that 10 or 20%? They burned out. And the next year when you ask for volunteers or for leaders, they say, thank you, but no thank you. Is that right? Yeah. So that's a real thing. It is difficult to engage more people in these kind of activities. Follow-up question, and I'm coming back to you. What can be done to address that problem?
Well, we've actually tried to do what you just said, like find that gift, the gift assessment.
Yes.
Try to talk to everybody and see exactly what their strengths are and try to build on that.
Okay, perfect. So spiritual gifts, yes. I'm coming to you, and then I'm coming back to you. Yes.
So what we need is that text that you said, we need some Issachars in our churches who can see what's going on and can provide the blueprint,
Excellent.
pattern, leadership that, because others will follow.
Yes.
Even non-involved members can see the vision,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes you have to have somebody who's going to kind of drive the bus.
Okay.
Get stuff started.
Excellent. I want to come back to that because that's a very important point. Yes.
I have found that it could be the biggest roadblock. So I'm reaching out to people who are very infrequent attenders,
Uh-huh.
as well as people who aren't even members of our church.
Interesting.
And that actually gives us a dual purpose in our ministry. We are often find we're ministering more to the volunteers than we even are the population that we serve.
Excellent. Excellent. So if I can rephrase it a little bit, correct me if that's not what you mean, is we can also work with those who are just coming to the church, who are either recent members or who are visiting, the church and want to be engaged. Okay, excellent.
Not members at all.
Or not members at all. Perfect. Yeah, excellent. Another idea. Yes, sir.
Some of these ideas that you have up there are difficult for some people to do because of families.
Yes.
Young families, they have to work, oftentimes husband and wife are both working, and
Yes.
If it weren't for the retirees, it probably wouldn't happen.
Excellent. And you have mentioned a potential in a lot of our churches that could be tapped into. Is that right? Those who are retired. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, and a lot of churches that are large, they have a very strong program with retirees. Yeah, because you have the time, you have the energy, and you can use it. Yeah, perfect. Yes.
One more challenge I know we have at our church is that many of the members do not live within 10 miles of the church.
Okay, that's another important issue. Our churches used to be located in the neighborhoods where people lived. But through the years, that has changed. Most people drive 30, 40 minutes to church. Is that the reality for you guys or no? Yeah? Yeah?
But the part of the
Yes.
reason for that is the houses and things that are close to the church are too expensive.
Okay. So the neighborhoods changed to the point that if you didn't buy 20 years ago, it would be impossible to do it now. Is that right? Okay, great. What other, let's say, these are just ideas of ministries that were relevant for them during that time. What are the kinds of ministries that we could have in the cities where we live? Yeah, now, I'll tell you this. I heard, for instance, families with young children. So if your church has the majority of family with young children, what kind of ministries should you as a church be doing? Yeah, activities that are connected. Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I have come to this conclusion. Pastor Don, please tell me what you find as a pastor. This is my idea. When I was pastoring, I think that our volunteers do not have more than 3 hours a week to contribute to the church. That's the conclusion that I have come to because of work and everything else. So if we need to decide what kind of ministries to have, and the other thing, this will be heretical, so if you don't agree, please feel free to disagree with me. That's no problem. But I'll tell you this. Many of the departments that we have in our churches serve their purpose in the past, but today we do not need to have them. We need to have ministries that serve the purpose for which the departments in the past were created. Yeah? Does that make sense? Okay, so you need, as a board, as leaders, you need to analyze that. Hey, do we really need to have a director for this? Does that serve any purpose for our church? What about this ministry that we do not have, but there are people who could do it, and our community would greatly benefit from that? I'm coming to you and then Don. Yes.
So, health ministry has always been great.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that even 30, 40 years ago, one of the biggest things that the Adventist church did was the 5-day stop smoking.
Yes. Uh-huh.
We don't have as many, and we don't have as many smokers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really a contributor. Now we've got obesity,
Yes.
diabetes, we have
Mental health,
what?
mental health,
Mental health,
anxiety, yeah,
all
stress.
these, but they're great promoters. Now, Sharon Church, when was it? Had Michael, what's his name, come, and the church was full
Yes.
of health, the health seminar, and that's really great. But the health ministry has always been the right hand of the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still needed. As I said, probably not. The smoking plan isn't needed like it. That used to draw a lot of people,
Correct.
and we still have still people are interested in vegan, vegetarian food more
Yes.
than
Yes.
anything before. So we have all of that. Our health message is huge that we can do on some level.
Correct. Excellent. Uh-huh. Don, and then I'm coming back to you. Yes.
I think some of it is just rethinking what we're doing.
Exactly.
So in other words, like children's Sabbath school. What if we ended up going and
Excellent.
promoting that as like a children's story hour for the community?
Yeah.
Come and bring your children. You can learn Bible stories, sing songs, do crafts. I mean, people are looking for those kind of things to do with their children.
That's an excellent idea, and this is the key. In order to minister to the cities, we need to know our cities. Let me be transparent and open with you, okay? We can probably turn the lights on. We'll, if you want, if you are comfortable like that, that's good. I feel, okay, I grew up in Ecuador. I grew up there until I was 18 years of age. Okay, so I went to different churches, different realities. Then I moved to California. I went to Weimar. I graduated from Weimar, studied there. Then after that, I went back to Ecuador, pastored for several years. Went back to Andrews, got married. Went back to Ecuador, pastored for 6 years there. And then came to Texas, spent some time there. Then we went to Thailand for 5 years. Then we went back to Michigan and coordinated programs in Africa. So I've seen a little bit of things, around the world. And what I notice is this. As Adventists, we are amazingly blessed by what we have. You can go to elementary school, academy, college. You can work for an Adventist institution, and you can die in an Adventist institution. Correct or not? Yes, we are amazingly blessed. That's an amazing blessing. Because that means that we can connect with the community. But what is the downside of that? That we could be in a bubble, where we are not connected to people outside of our reality. Do you see it like that or not? What do you think? Yeah? Does that make sense? Yes.
We want to reach the community and we use the health message. The thing of it is, many of the people attending from the community are there for the benefit, but not the purpose of the health message.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes we don't communicate or we don't follow up with as we should to make it a real ministry for the church. So yes, we're giving benefit, health benefit, but they're not understanding the reasons why or why that should be. That should point them to the gospel.
Very, very interesting. I heard this story. Pastor Wright was sharing the story of the Daniel plan. He said that there is a lady who is an atheist who has attended several years. Still she's not open to engaging and connecting with people, but she likes to be part of the Daniel health plan. So sometimes it takes years until people connect. But something that I understood is this. If you visit a church and it is your first time in that church, you feel strange. Very strange. Yeah. When we went to Thailand, I don't know if that was your experience. You also spent some time, many years there actually. I felt when I started learning the language, just learning the language, Sawatikrap, I felt very inadequate. Culturally, I did not belong there. People in Thailand are beautiful people, friendly people, but I could not even speak. So what I understood is this. There are people who come to our churches and that's exactly the way they feel. Churches have cultures. When do you stand? When do you sit? When do you kneel? When do you do this? I travel, because of my work, I travel to all the Spanish churches and church plants in the conference, okay? So every Sabbath that I go to a different church, they tell me, in our church, we do this. I say, look, I'll follow you. Just do whatever. I just do whatever you do, Some churches kneel down and sing a song. Others do this. Others do that. So just imagine, I am accustomed to that. I grew up in this, all right? Imagine people who come for the first time to your church. How they feel. So it's very difficult. Just to have them connect with any of our programs is an amazing win. And then eventually they will be blessed with the greatest blessing we offer. Is that right? Which is the message, Mm-hmm. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
So something that must be very, very dear to your heart.
Yes.
In the cities, we have opportunities. Adventists has always been able to attract the new people.
Yes.
The immigrants.
Yes.
That come. Having a ministry in the cities for immigrants is a wonderful way to reach them. And even, that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is reaching the
Yes.
immigrants. But maybe you know exactly how many ministries in Charlotte that don't we have? How many groups do we have? We have a Korean group.
We have Koreans. We have Miso. We have Zomi. We have a Ghanaian group from Ghana. Ghanaian. And then what else? Myanmar International. We have yes.
So we've been always able to attract
Yes.
What's very hard for the Seventh Adventist Church to do
Yes.
in the South is those die-hard Southern, the Bible Belt.
Okay.
That's very difficult for us to work. We've never been good at reaching these.
Excellent.
But we've been always able to reach the newcomers, the immigrants, the people that are just moving in. And they're excellent. I mean, as soon as we find you're working with Russians and Ukrainians that are coming.
That's right.
That's great. Because they come in and we have a ministry for them.
Yes.
And we can get them established, feeling at home because they're in their own language and they're in their own group and they can start their own.
Excellent.
But that's an opportunity that all, the cities have.
You're making an excellent point, and I want to stop there just for a second, okay? This is something very important. I have to make a confession, okay? Many times we think that the work is growing among Hispanics. Is that right? I mean, I can tell you, out of 1,093 baptisms last year in our conference, 700 were Spanish churches, okay? But, there is a but. And listen carefully to this, and share it, okay, with everyone. We are growing with first-generation Hispanics. Yeah? When it comes to second and third generation, we are suffering the same things that English-speaking churches, Korean churches, and every other group is experiencing. Yeah? So what that means is this. Again, I come back to the same thing. People look for God when they are under stress and circumstances that are not very favorable. If I come here and I don't have a job and something else, I'm looking for God. I will confess even at what I have not done, I'll confess it. Yeah, but once I have a job and I'm making money, thank you, God, and now the American dream, is that right? Yeah. So now let's think about that carefully. Why is that happening? And how do we do something different to change that? Yeah? So, if we only minister to the ones that just come, first generation in our cities, which we are doing effectively, I think. Yeah?
Better than any
Exactly. Yes. We're doing it effectively and it's happening in many groups. But I feel that we do not see North America as a mission field. People who are not religious, people who have no interest in our churches, let me ask you this question. Can they feel welcome to our churches? What do you think? Now, think it like this. I have a friend, when I went to Thailand, they told me, look, you came here to this country and you want to share Christ. Just think the other way around. What happened if a Buddhist monk dressed in orange went to your neighborhood and started trying to share Buddhism? How would you receive that person? Not very well, is that right? So when we are the givers, we think everybody will welcome us and should love us, is that right? When we are the receivers, not even the Jehovah's Witnesses are welcome. Is that right? Yeah. So let's think about it. Are our churches in the cities places that are welcoming to people who are different than us?
Well, we've got a pickleball ministry.
Excellent.
And so some of our members have had very interesting conversations with people from the community that have been coming to play pickleball.
Yes.
And so that's where it happens. We call them connect groups. In other words,
Excellent. Yeah. Perfect. You mentioned something very interesting before, Don. I'm coming back to you. Just one second. There is a church in Chicago that was dying. Yeah, it was a very influential, over 1,000 members, and it was down to, I don't know, not even 100. And then they said, our mentality has always been around programs that minister to our members, but we have not thought about ministries that reach out to the community. So they changed their Sabbath school for children, okay? And they said, every Sabbath will be like a VBS. We will have a program that is not only for our children, but has the children of the community in mind. Only in children, they have over 100 every week. Now, just think of the implications of that, okay? Can your churches support 100 people coming? Do you have enough volunteers? Yeah, you see. So many times, and I have to be honest with you, many times we talk about growth and being relevant in our communities. But if I'm not sure that we have the infrastructure in our churches to support the influx of people that would come. Coming back to you, yes.
We just have to rethink the infrastructure.
Exactly.
If you get the parents of the children involved,
Yeah.
that's a whole new field.
Exactly.
of it.
Exactly.
But I want to echo what you're saying here. We are so stuck in what we think is a service and what we think is a church service and what we think is evangelism.
Yeah.
That this is our problem.
Yes.
We're not thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Our church members are afraid of thinking outside the box.
Yes.
And I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. Okay. This is a good problem. I'm coming back to you, but this is an excellent problem. And if the only thing that I'm able to accomplish in this time that we spend together is to help you think differently, that will be an amazing thing. And to go back to your churches and not be satisfied with the status quo. Yeah. Why? I feel that as Adventists, we have been entrusted with the most beautiful and complete message. Yeah? Like, why did not we as Adventists think of the Daniel plan? Like Rick Warren, is that right? He came up with the Daniel plan. You are using it effectively. I mean, it's a different plan, the Daniel plan in Hendersonville. But it is interesting. I mean, when it came up, the 40 days, it was Rick Warren, who came up with the Daniel plan. I was like, why did he? I'm glad that the Hendersonville church, thought of the Daniel plan. But that's a message we have had for so long. Is that right? So there are many amazing, beautiful things that we have, but this is the thing. Allow me to mention this to you. Because cities are challenging, and because they give us values that are anti what we believe, we start creating walls around us. And then we see ourselves as in need of protecting ourselves from the world. Now, should we protect ourselves? Yes. How? Being founded on the Scriptures. We're not talking about compromising biblical principles, our beliefs. What we are talking about is creating environments in our churches where the community is welcome. Creating structures that facilitate inviting people from the community to our churches. And let me tell you, that is not comfortable. That will be troublesome. Let me tell you this short story, and I'm coming back to you. I was pastoring a church, and a lot of visitors were coming. Yeah, I enjoy playing soccer. So we had soccer games, we have all kinds of games, and a lot of people were coming. And when visitors come to your church, it's disrupting. I had visitors who came to church whose children did not know how to sit even for 10 minutes. So they are running up and down, and I'm preaching, and I'm just saying, God, please do something with this kid, Yeah, we had evangelistic meetings, and one child had brought his remote control to church, okay? So in the middle of the preaching, this evangelist is going at it, and I see the car going to the, and I was thinking, man, this is terrible. Like, how can this happen? But then it dawned on me, I should be celebrating, because it means that there are people who have no idea what church is like. They are visitors. And now, our task as leaders is to start educating, sharing with them what it means, helping parents. One of the first things that I talk to my elders is, hey, we need to visit these people and share with them how to have worship as a family so that they can have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then their children little by little at home learn. So when they come to church, they can sit at least for a few minutes. Is that right? Another testimony, okay? My friend, he pastors a church in Houston. And he said, hey, I went to Starbucks, yeah? And I sat and I talked to one of the ladies in Starbucks, and she, I told her about the church, that I was a pastor, and then she said, oh, I'm interested. So she came to church. She had closed the business because she was the manager, I think, who closed the business at 1 a.m. So 9:30 a.m., she was at the church. Our church programs last from what time to what time, usually in our churches? 9:30 to 12, yeah? And then if you're a Spanish church, 12:30, and then if you're another culture church, 2 o'clock, okay? So it depends, all right, of the culture. But this is the key. At the end of the service, my friend, the pastor, asked the lady, so how did you like it? She said, I love the service. Oh, so are you coming next week? There is no way I can come. Why? What do you think? Okay, she said, I have 2 children. I had to pay somebody to babysit my kids. I cannot afford to be here this long. Our churches and our services are created for people like us, whose Sabbath is a holy day, and it should be like that, okay? I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but just think about this. If you invite somebody to church who is not church, do you think they will last 3.5 hours there? So, what if the first time you invite somebody from the city to the church, you invite them to the church service? Is that right? And the church service is created to be friendly for visitors. Yeah. So again, we need to think differently. Yeah. Yes. Back to you.
So I think one of the pitfalls we have is we measure the success of what we're doing by the people that show up at our location.
Excellent.
But if we go back to the text with Paul, he not only did the synagogue, he did the marketplace. And I
Excellent.
think one of the weaknesses we have
Excellent.
is we don't integrate into the community to the place
Excellent.
to break down the prejudice. We talk about the southern, blue blood churches that tend to be very resistant
Yes.
to attending anything.
Yes.
Well, a lot of that is a prejudice, a dam that's been built over time based on presumptions.
Yes.
Right? And so the only way we can change that is to integrate.
Excellent.
So often as Adventists, we somehow feel like it's bad if we attend a Methodist church on Sunday morning to meet people, talk to people, or join a local community board that oversees
Excellent.
the bike trails.
Excellent.
Right? And once we get involved in those kind of civic and community places that typically we don't go, we can break down those
Excellent.
prejudices, and those people will be more willing to attend to things.
Excellent point. I really appreciate what you're sharing. My wife, she's a PT, physical therapist, and she likes a way of doing PT, so she started her own business, all right? So one of the things that she did was to attend BNI. Any of you familiar with that? I wouldn't know what BNI is, Business Network International, something like that. So basically, each city or area has a BNI, yeah? And then people from different work backgrounds, builders, roofers, or doctors, or whatever, they go there. And they only have one person with one field, yeah? And every week, they share 1 minute what they are about. And every so often, they have 10 minutes to share what they are about. My wife has had amazing spiritual conversations with those people. Yeah? Being part of the life of the community. Okay? Again, so as you can see, let's try to gather everything that we are talking about and try to summarize what we are saying. Yes, sir. Please. Please, yeah. Excellent. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So, last Friday, I was in a Bible study with young collectives people, and we were trying to think of ways we can reach people in these colleges. We tried different ways, trying to talk about it, but we couldn't get an idea how can we reach these students.
Okay, I will tell you. Each university, if you're a student, you can start a club. Yeah? Once the student starts the club, you can be invited to come. Yeah? So there are universities that have Bible study clubs. Yeah, and then that's the way that you have an entry. But a student from the university has to be the one starting it. Yeah, so there are several who are working like that very successfully. Yeah, the student starts the club, a Bible club, praying club, whatever they want to call it, or it can be something where they get together, eat, and then they study the Bible and pray. Yeah, but the student from the university has to be the one creating the club. He gets the permission, or she gets the permission from the university, and then you can come and help with that. Yeah, so that's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so let's try to summarize. As we can see, churches that are located in cities have an amazing opportunity because cities have power and they create culture. If we are isolated from the life of the city, then our churches can disappear today and nobody will miss it. Yeah? There are churches that if they disappear today, they will be missed because they are part of the life, yeah, of the community. In order for us to be relevant, we need to know what the needs of the community are, and we need to assess what the gifts of the church are so that we can build bridges between the needs and the gifts. Yeah, that's the easiest thing that we can do. What is the harder thing that we need to do? We need to revisit, yeah, the way our structures exist in our churches. Are we community-oriented or are we member-oriented in our churches? That's something that you will need to assess with your churches. If we are member-oriented, having visitors is a problem because it disrupts the life of the church. Yeah? It disrupts the life of the church. If you are community-oriented, then your structures are flexible, so you are welcoming those who are coming from the community. I will give you easy examples. Adventurous, pathfinders, master guides, easy ways to connect with the community. Very easy way. But in the minds of the leaders, it should be the community, not only the children, yeah, of our church. Because usually when we think of clubs, we are thinking of what? Our children, is that right? But what if we invite people in the community? You will have a lot of kids. You will have a lot of ministries. Sabbath school, another excellent example. I don't know where you live, but I have thought. Eventually, I want to go back to pastoring. I talk to my wife, and I tell her, I would love Sabbath afternoon to start club. My wife loves hiking. Do you know how many people would love go hiking, in the afternoon? Yes. In our Spanish churches, we have, what do we have Sabbath afternoon? Jota, ¿verdad? Yeah, jóvenes, a program for youth. And I'm like, man, so we're bringing them again. You are all day. So you go morning, then you eat there, then you come back to it. And I said, wow, our brothers and sisters are amazingly faithful here, and very enduring. But is it sinful to go to nature? No, exactly. So there are ways, and I'll never forget, when we were in Thailand, we asked these university students, say, hey, what activity could we do where you would invite your university friends who are not Christians? He told me they would go hiking. So every Saturday afternoon we went to the mountain. A lot of people came. We walked. At the end, we ate. We had a devotional. We sang together. Great time. Little by little, planting what? Seeds. Yeah. So we need to think of that. If you have children, the same thing. What are things that families are already doing, and how can those be transformed into activities where they can connect with the life of the community? Yeah, does that make any sense? Yes? What other ideas do you have? Yes?
Something that we noticed is that a lot of times people come to our church, they may even sign into the guest book,
Yes.
but they get overlooked forever.
Excellent.
And it's easier, they came for a reason, they have an interest,
Mm-hmm.
they have a friend that invited them or something. But it's easier to follow up with those people than it is to go door to door and try and find new people.
Excellent.
They already have an interest. I used to be Mormon when I was a little boy. And so one time I went to the Mormon church in our community in Collegeville. I lived in twice. And they assigned somebody to me to show me around, to be with me the entire time. And
Excellent.
I'm talking about some people feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
They don't know. Where's the hymn book? What are you singing? But
Mm-hmm.
They would get to know that person, maybe even invite them home. But a lot of times people come and they go and we never see them again because nobody said hi to them, nobody talked to them.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I'm a pastor and I like to visit. When I just came to the conference, I visited churches without letting them know that I was coming, just to see. And there are churches I would never go back, I'm telling you, you know. Yeah, and there are churches that I would love to make that my church. It was amazing the way they received us, you know, as visitors. Yes. Any other ideas? Yes. Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent idea. I like that. I'm coming back to you, and then yes, please.
I guess, with all the programs and everything are good, but I think the world is also hungry just for solid biblical
Mm-hmm.
preaching. And if we could figure out what Tim Keller did in Manhattan
Yes. Yes.
with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
built this huge ministry that atheists come to and listen to.
That's an interesting point. I don't know if you have listened to the interview that Carrie Newhoff has with Tim Keller. Okay, 3.5 hours of interview, fascinating. And one of the things that Tim Keller said is that he studied culture. He studied the culture, and he said, if I had to start my ministry today, it would be very different than what I did in the 80s when he started, or even later. He said that today, and this was interesting to me, he said, today people want to understand identity. Everywhere, everybody talks about identity. This is an identity crisis, okay? So he said, I would preach the message, the gospel, in a way that made sense for people who are searching for identity. Yeah, so going back to what you are suggesting, our churches need to be relevant to the needs of the cities. Yeah? If we are not relevant to that, then it will be difficult. If the language we use is only understood by church people, it's difficult to bring friends. We need to have ways in which we as members continue to grow deeply in the study of the Bible, but creating environments where people who are not Christian can understand the message and continue growing. 100%. Yes?
One of the things about being friendly is, like a lot of times, we went to a church in Colorado, and I even participated in the Sabbath school class. Not one person ever said it was nice to have you here. Where are you from?
Exactly.
Not one.
Very big, yeah.
Church service, not one. Until afterwards, we were walking out to the parking lot, and I asked somebody else a question, and then they started talking to me. But otherwise, and so they were having evangelism coming up, and so my wife texted the pastor and said, "Listen, there's a problem. You get to evangelism, and you're not very welcoming to your own people.
That's right. Yes.
You're missing the boat."
Excellent.
So for Sabbath school, if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I see you're new here. What's your name?" Just welcome them. Be friendly.
Excellent. A good practice, something that I did, and I have heard many pastors who do it, and it is a great thing. Ask somebody who is not related to any church to come and visit your church. Yeah? Ask them to come and to give you an evaluation of what they felt. Then share that with your church. Say, hey, we had this person came, and this was their experience. And then start a conversation. What are the things that we can change in the culture of our church so that we can be more welcoming, we can do whatever. I think there is nothing, because we are all used to the church. I'll tell you something that I'm not proud of, I'm actually ashamed of, but it is true. So I was pastoring in a church. I invited this guy who had never been to church. You know what the first thing he told me about the church was? Your church smells bad. I'm like, what? I had never experienced that. I was used to it. Yeah? So we are used to smells. We are used to things that are not working in our churches. We are things because we go there every Sabbath. The moment that you have visitors coming, they will see with different eyes. Yeah, so it's good to have people come and evaluate and assess how they experience your church. Yeah, but back again, cities and closing our time here together. Today, I feel, and I'm convicted of this, we have an amazing opportunity as Seventh-day Adventists to be positioned in cities, because we have every aspect of the message that people need. Yeah, we have mental health information, we have health, health, yes, in general, physical health, emotional health, mental health, and I believe that today our churches need to assess where they are located, where is the reality of my context, my city, how can I be relevant to them, and how can I little by little build the kind of ministries that actually make a difference in the life of our communities. Assess what ministries are not being useful in our church. Eliminate them. Yeah, it sounds easy, no, but I know you have wars in your churches with that. But yes, little by little, start creating new ones. But this is the key. Do not create a ministry unless you have somebody who is willing to lead that ministry. Yeah? So when you have somebody who is ready to embrace a ministry, who has a team, go for it. Yeah? And let other things go. But let's not have ministries in our churches that are not helping us to connect with the life of our community. Because otherwise we are just using the little time that our members have. Think about that, you. Yeah? There are many of you who are blessed. You have given your life, you have worked hard, you are now retired, so you have a little more time to give. The other families in your churches might not have that time. Is that right? Personally, again, I think 3 hours a week is what people can give. So think, how can they use it to effectively make a difference in the life of your community? You had a hand up, yes?
Yeah, I was going to say that everything you're saying is so true, and we have to study what the community needs and what we as a church can give to the community.
Yes.
We were involved in a church that they had a food pantry for years,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked for them, but what happened? The members started getting older, they couldn't lift the boxes anymore, things were getting heavier, and the new people that were there did not have the time to do it
Yeah.
anymore like they used to.
That's
do.
right.
So, and then it created a problem because it was a ministry that was successful for so many years, and now the new ones couldn't continue with it. And then it was just they didn't want to let go of the ministry because it worked for them then, but they didn't come up with other ideas that the members that were there now could work. So it is both ends, seeing what the community needs and also what we can do.
Excellent. Excellent point. Thank you so much. I finish with this comment. At the beginning, I mentioned that Scott Griswold was the one who created, at least the one that I heard it from, Reaching the World Next Door. And the people that he mentioned were international students. Yeah, university, you mentioned that. If you have near your churches universities, that's a great opportunity. There are university students, foreign students that come. Any holidays, they don't have any place to go. So if you have food, if you have an activity, they will come. We were studying language at Union Language School in Bangkok, my wife and I, when we just arrived in Thailand. And as we were learning, we made friends with a Japanese young woman and a woman from Taiwan. So Christmas, we invited them. Thanksgiving, we invited them. We were playing sports, we invited them. Okay, we left and went to Konkan where we served. A few months later, we received a phone call, from our Japanese friend. She said, "I just want to tell you that I have a Christian friend and I continue attending a Christian church, and I want to tell you that I just gave my life to Jesus." And that was so special for us, because she did not become an Adventist. We shared Christ. We did not have time to share, all of that. We were gone. But she was able to go from nothing to Jesus. And the only thing I'm telling you was friendship. It's just connections. So there are many people that if we are able to help them make connections, international students are one of them. You mentioned, I have, my heart goes out for young people in our churches. Yeah? If you go and visit most churches are empty of young people. Is that right? Yeah. So for me, those are a people group that needs to be reached. And one of the things that they want is to be accepted without judgment. Is that right? It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm telling you, I have two young men, but I notice that if our churches become safe places where young people can come and feel embraced, not that we are accepting, that, but we're embracing them because we love them. Yeah, we'll do amazing things. All of us are on the same boat. Hispanics, Korean, Anglos, we're struggling with the same thing. The generation after our generation is losing their faith. We need to think what we are going to do to turn that around. Yeah, and I think the first step is just being more loving, in our churches towards them, more embracing to them, so they can feel at home. I hope that it's been helpful. At least it has created some questions in your mind. During the rest of the week, we will be addressing different topics on the same theme of cities. Yeah, so if you're welcome to come or you're welcome to attend any of the other excellent presentations that are around. I don't know if there are any questions. I pray? Okay. I'll pray. Any prayer requests that you have for your churches or for you? Anybody? Yes.
We're trying to do a health school.
Yes.
For our community. So we have a very small church.
Mm-hmm.
Not very many members, but we're going to use everyone we can.
Amen.
And we're having people from the outside, from out of state coming to, so we can pray for our
Yes. Your church is?
it's the Fairview.
Fairview Church. Excellent. So just remember, Fairview, and they have a health. For kids. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, perfect. But the theme will be health. Excellent. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes. Young adult, Greensboro Church. Okay, perfect. Anybody else? All right, let us pray. Father God, we are so grateful for the blessing we have to be Seventh-day Adventist. We have really been blessed with a beautiful message. The message, a sound message based on scriptures, a beautiful health message that we can embrace and share with others. And we realize that you have positioned each one of us in different locations around this conference. And we want to be a blessing to our communities. So even now, Father, I pray that you will bless each one of the members who is here. The fact that they are here is because they are concerned about how to be more effective in sharing Christ through their churches. I pray in a special way for Fairview. They are planning a special program for children, and they are wanting to teach children how to live healthfully. So I pray that you will bless them, Father, that many kids from the community will be able to come and be blessed. At the same time, I pray for the young adults from Greensboro, that you will open doors so that they can have small groups at the universities, different campuses that are there, that you will help the young people in the church to connect with the students so that many people can come to know you. And I pray for each one of the churches that are here represented. Help us to be effective, help us to be relevant, and help us to assess what needs to be changed so that we can make a difference in the life of our community. We thank you for the opportunity you give us in the name of Jesus. Amen.